Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on In the Doll World. I am here today with my lovely co-host, Miss Georgette Taylor.
Hey,
Hello,
everybody.
Miss Georgette.
Hey.
And today we are honored and excited to be interviewing Miss Allison Hernandez from Muñecas, Poupees and Dolls.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Hello,
Allison.
Allison. We're so excited to see you. We've been doing collaboration with Allison and having lots of fun with her, but we'd never met her. I mean, this is as close as we've gotten to meet Allison. We just love each other from afar. So we're just so excited to get to have a chat with her. So thank you so much, Allison.
I'm excited to be here. I'm honored that you guys asked me. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. So we're going to jump right in and start with our magic question.
Okay.
Tell us about your doll journey.
So my doll journey, it started when I was a kid and it just never let up. I love dolls ever since I was a kid. I have pictures of myself at 2, 3 years old with dolls. And as I continued to get older and my friends were growing out of dolls, I never had that transition. I just still wanted dolls. And, American Girl dolls, the older I got, became a big part of my life because that was, all the rage then. And for my 16th birthday, I got an American Girl doll for my birthday. Oh. But about age 10 or 11, that's when I started getting Dolls magazine. That was one of the collector magazines that were out there. I think my mom subscribed me to that. And I realized, doll collecting is a legitimate thing. Like, grown-ups do this. So I declared at that age, I'm a doll collector. I want to be a doll collector. And I have been ever since. I mean, that's the way I've considered myself. So I never grew out of dolls. I just continued to love them my entire life. So
cool.
Do you have a specific type of doll that you like, or it just encompasses all dolls?
Most dolls. So my primary collection, or my primary areas of interest, I really like international playline dolls. So dolls from different countries, but that are playline dolls, because it's interesting to me to see how different cultures play with dolls and interact with dolls. So I love that. BJDs, of course, I have a lot of BJDs and I love those. I love how many different artists there are because it's more accessible for artists to create BJDs. They're easier for them to manufacture. So I love the variety that we have in the BJD world. And then I also have a little bit of vintage vinyl things, some Crissy dolls from Ideal and some other vintage dolls kind of from that same era. So those are I would say my like main areas of interest.
Okay, all right. That's pretty cool.
And your vintage doll, does that begin with your mom's doll? Because your mom's doll is the Crissy doll, isn't it?
She's the Crissy doll. And yes. So that was I got 2 dolls handed down from my mom. One was a Crissy doll and one was a Malibu Barbie. There's a Ken too, but I don't really count him as much because he's kind of the wrong head on the wrong body. he's a mess. But anyway, I got a Malibu Barbie from her and I got Crissy. And Crissy's just the one that, I don't know, I just loved her. Like, I loved her size and I loved the hair. And then my great grandma had made a lot of fashions for her. So I was able to dress her, because I played with her when I was a kid too. And so I got to dress her in a lot of different things. And so, yeah, that's kind of how that got started. And also because a lot of times, I used to, or I still do when I'm collecting, when you go to the flea market or you go to the thrift store or you're out doing that sort of thing and you see a great vintage vinyl doll from the 60s or 70s, and it's like you have to rescue them and you have to bring them home and clean them up. So that's part of that too. It's just, I'm just drawn to that.
Yeah, I've seen you do a few of those clean up, repaint, get their hair together. So yeah, I've seen a few of those. Do a good job.
What you were talking about, your mother had Crissy and stuff. Was she a doll collector, or she just purchased stuff for you to buy?
No, she those were just her Crissy was her childhood doll.
Okay.
And she just gave it to me. And then as I I got interested in dolls. So Kirsten, the American Girl doll, that was my first expensive doll, because I'll never forget when I was 8 years old, she was $82. That was a lot of money when I was 8 years old. And I asked for her for a year solid, maybe 2 years, because I had started reading. So we read the Little House on the Prairie books when I was in 3rd grade. And I loved the Little House on the Prairie books. And so I went to my librarian at school and I asked her, I want to read a book like this. And she took me to the Kirsten books because she was a pioneer. It was the same time period, whatever. And in the back of those American Girl doll books, there was a postcard that had the pictures of the dolls and a postcard you could tear out and mail in for a catalog. So after I read the book, I went back to my librarian and I asked her, can I tear this out and mail it in? And she said, sure. And so I did it. I got the catalog. It was a wrap. And from 3rd grade till the end of 4th grade, I begged and begged and begged. So I got that as my 4th grade elementary school graduation gift, was that doll.
Okay.
And I, that's kind of, then I wanted to collect her dresses, and then I wanted all the other American Girl dolls. And so I got them all over the course. Every year, that was my big gift, was an American Girl doll. And then I saw the Bob Mackie Barbies in the Sears Wish book. And I wanted a Bob Mackie Barbie so bad, starting from the first one was that gold one with the blonde ponytail. And then they had several more, and I begged and begged for it. But those dolls, they were over $100. And so, I knew I wasn't getting that, but I still circled it, kids, how we circle in the books, what you want. And when I think I was 11, I got the Masquerade Ball Barbie, the Bob Mackie one. And I think she was the 4th or the 5th issue from those Barbies. And that was when I felt like everybody in the family was taking me seriously as a collector, because that was a doll that was made for adult women. That was not a doll that was made for children. So, adult women and men, it was made for adults, not, for collectors, not for children, because the American Girl dolls were for children. But the Bob Mackie Barbies were for adults. And so when I got that doll, that was a big deal to me. So I still have her, still have both of them, but I still have all my childhood dolls for the most part.
Wow. So. That's cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure if she was a collector or not, because you had mentioned she had the doll. So yeah.
She's not, but she's gotten an eye for these things, and she has her own kind of hobby thing going on. She has a booth at an antique mall, and so we love to go to thrift stores and flea markets and stuff. And so when she's out, she'll send me pictures of dolls every time, and sometimes she finds really good stuff, and so that's cool. So she's been getting she has an eye for those things now.
So she's your doll scout. Is that what it is?
She is. When I'll just start getting texts, like pictures of dolls, and it'll be like pass or how much or yes or
Definitely.
That's
right.
awesome.
Get that one, Mama. One's good.
That's awesome.
So she found me a set of the best find she's had probably in the last year. Is she got me a bubble cut Barbie and a Ken and a bunch of fashions at a Value Village, and so that was like a really, really good one. So
good.
Nice.
That was exciting.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing your okay, so we know you, at least I know you from your show,
right?
So how long have you been doing your YouTube show?
I think I started it's 2016 or 2017.
Okay, so a few years. Okay,
it's been a few years, and in 2017 is when I really started to take it seriously.
Okay.
And so I tried to at that point start being more conscious about, I wanted to do what I always wanted to do, is I wanted to have a channel that was informational. I wanted to give information to people, and that also showcased, dolls. And then one of my big goals has always been to attract more people to the doll collecting community, because I always tell people the more of us there are, the better it is for all of us, because we can sustain the industry as a whole. And so that was a big part of my goal, is to, you know, draw new people in, but also to provide information to people. You know, I just that was always my hope, is to just be informational. So
Okay.
Well, I think you've done a good job with that. Your shows are always informational, and I learn about, you know, artists from all over the world and doll clothes makers, and your show is amazing.
well, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great. You're doing a wonderful job there. And in my opinion, you're a blessing to the whole doll community, because yes, like when we did our annual World of Black Doll celebration, and you joined in with us, you had dolls that I don't have. I mean, because you've got some really high-end, you know, expensive dolls that I just don't have, you know. So it was really cool to see you come in and walk, you know, beside us, hold our hands, and introduce our audience to dolls from Brazil. And that first show, I think it was the first show, I can't remember the first or second show, you had maybe 7 dolls there, and there wasn't a doll from America. They were all from different countries. It was like, wow, look at Allison's collection. Just amazing.
That's the great thing about BJDs, is it is so accessible to so many people, because it's cheaper to have the molds made, and it's cheaper, you know, they can the materials for them to sculpt the dolls are not all that expensive, and then they don't have really high minimums they have to meet from the factories. And so that's kind of where my heart really is with the BJDs, is that there are so many amazing artists all over the world that are making these dolls, because it is a more accessible, I guess, medium for them to do. So
yeah, that's true.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it shows some really, really interesting dolls, and I love the fact that you have so much information behind all of them. So that's pretty cool.
I spend a lot of time on the internet.
Oh, that sounds familiar. Sounds familiar. I know a person just like that.
Oh. It wouldn't be me.
It would be. Walking encyclopedias, which is great. I love it. Doll encyclopedias. Did you what I wanted to ask you, Allison, is I know you said you got started in like 2017 doing the show. What was the catalyst really for you starting the show?
I want to say that there was something that I was looking for that I couldn't find, and I wanted, you know, to know why this information wasn't out there. And one of the main things is I collect Nancy Famosa dolls, and Nancy Famosa dolls are from Spain. And there are not many English speaking Nancy Famosa collectors. And so I, you know, spent a lot of time. I knew some Spanish from high school. At the time, I was not married to my Spanish speaking husband. Now I am. So I speak a lot better Spanish now than I used to. But I was going and, you know, reading information in Spanish about these dolls. And so I was the only person putting out English information about Nancy Famosa dolls. A couple of US collectors, you know, came to me, and I just, you know, I think I decided at that point, you know, there's nothing like this on YouTube where there's just information out there. And so that's why I decided to kind of just get into it and go. So
that's pretty cool.
How has your doll show changed over the years? Because you've been there for a minute.
Well, first of all, I've gotten more professional. I've got better gear, got a better camera, better lighting, a better setup. I do a lot more thought about some of the programs I do. When I do an unboxing video, for example, there's not a lot of thought that goes into that, because that's just an unbox, react, kind of do a review. There's not a lot of writing that goes into that. But when I'm doing an informational video, like I did one a few weeks back, or maybe a month or two back, about insurance, I spend a lot of time writing that stuff. I spend a lot of time doing research to try to get the best information for people. And so when I originally started, it was more just kind of the stuff I knew off the top of my head. But now I spend more time, you know, researching and really putting thought into and actually writing the stuff. I'll show you guys. This is where I write my shows.
Wow.
So I write my videos, or this is my journal where I keep up with all that stuff.
Okay, that's smart.
Yeah.
that was a big
as well.
change for me, you know, besides the equipment, besides all the gear, because that makes a big difference, you know, having the right equipment, but then also the content needs to be good. You can have the best equipment in the world, but if your content stinks, then nobody wants to watch it. So I spend a lot more time now writing, preparing, and doing stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I really love your shows. And like Georgia said, I'm always looking at things, and you're pretty prolific. How many shows do you put out a week? Because it's just like, there's lots of them.
It depends. I post a lot of content. People always say, I can't keep up with your content. It depends on how I'm feeling that week and what I'm up to. So, because once I write a show, once I get something written, I want to film it immediately. I want to do it and I want to get it done. And because that's kind of how I am. I don't know if that's impulsive. Maybe it's because I'm a little bit impulsive. I want to get it done while I'm thinking about it and while it's hot on my brain, and I want to put it out there on YouTube because I'm always very excited about what I'm working on at that moment. So, you know, and like today today on my lunch break, I filmed 2 videos. So, so those are going to be trickled out over the next couple weeks. And I have 7 more that I have to do at some point. So that are already in my mind. And so that's how it happens, is because, you know, if it's on my mind, I like to get it out and get it done. So
does your husband film all of them?
He films most of them. So he's my biggest cheerleader, I guess, and support system. Because he's always been into photography. So that's good, because he was not a reluctant participant. He was like, yeah, we can do this and this, and we can make this better. And so he has a good eye for those sorts of things, where I don't have that same sort of artistic eye that he has for like the lighting and how the camera needs to work and stuff like that. But sometimes I do film on my own in my light box, but I find that people like it better when I'm in the video, which was really weird for me when I started realizing that. But people say, we like the videos better when you're in them. Why aren't you in this video? You know, that kind of thing. So I think people, and I was reading about it, people like to see another person, because it's like they can relate to it better. So I try not to do as many in my light box, but sometimes that's better for doing comparisons and things like that. So I will do them in my light box on my own. But for the most part, if I'm in the video, for the most part, he's filming it. So.
Okay. All right. Now, you were saying that you do it sometimes. It's not sporadically, but you know, when you think about something, you put it out there. How many were you doing per week in the beginning of the show?
Maybe 1 or 2. Maybe. I don't really, to be honest, I don't really know. But it was not as much as it is now. So, and they weren't as long, and they weren't, you know, they weren't as detailed. And it's like you learn what people are looking for too over time. And so, and you get feedback from people, and I ask for feedback. Sometimes I don't ask for feedback and you get it anyway, right? But
yeah, it's true that.
Let me tell you about this one.
That's right. but I've gotten a lot of good constructive feedback over the years, and you know, I've kind of figured out what people like, what they don't like, approximately what length of video people like, what kind of information people want to hear, what kind of information is irrelevant to them. So and I guess I have more time now too, because one thing that happened to me is I did a career change in 2014. I had been a teacher in middle school. I taught middle school for 10 years, and then I changed careers to accounting. So I'm a CPA now, and I have, you know, people always say, oh, teachers have summers off. They have this. You don't have any time as a teacher. I have a lot more time than I used to have now. And so that really enabled me to focus more on my collecting. I have more time and more, I guess, energy at the end of the day, that I'm able to actually focus on my collecting and do videos and stuff like that. So that honestly probably played into the starting the YouTube channel too, is that I actually had this time and I had this energy, and I liked teaching. I didn't leave teaching because I didn't like it. And so that was another way for me to continue teaching in a manner was to do these videos and teach people about my passion, which is dolls. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, when you said you were a teacher, I could see that. So
yes,
when you said that, I was like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, I understand that now.
For 10 years, I
the
taught
educating
eighth graders. Eighth graders. So that was,
oh my goodness,
it was a really good experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but I learned a lot. So
yes, that makes sense. One of the things you spoke about was people give you feedback and they want to see you. I know when I watch your videos, especially the box openings, there is this joy that comes from you. I mean, you're just like, oh, look, oh, they included this little purse, or like the one where the ladies, her daughter drew
did the drawing of me and my dolls.
Oh, I mean, and it's just watching your joy gives me joy, if that makes any sense.
Well, thank you. And it's genuine too, because you know, people will ask me, one of my friends asked me, she said, you know, do you ever have dolls that you unbox that you don't like? And I'm like, no, I like all the dolls. Like that's really how I feel. Like I'm very grateful to be able to have these dolls in my collection, to be able to, you know, to have the outlet, I guess, to share that with people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's dolls that you've bought, so I mean, it's not like you just spin the wheel and buy the doll. I mean, you do a lot of research. So yeah, it's always, that makes sense.
And how many about estimate how many dolls in your collection?
I got asked this question over the weekend. I was in Louisville for a meeting for a doll convention. I would guess around 1,000, but keep in mind that I still have all of my childhood dolls. So most people's parents, when they're young, make them purge their childhood dolls. But my mom, you know, when I insisted to her that I'm a doll collector, we can't get rid of these. Remember those bubble cut Barbies you used to have that you don't have anymore? Because when I was young, you know, those were like really desirable. So she never made me get rid of them. So I still have all of my childhood dolls. And then I have a lot of dolls that I've collected from flea markets, thrift stores, things like that. And then I have, of course, the dolls that the collectible dolls that I buy. So I would guess it's around 1,000 if I had to really put a number on it.
Okay, I just want to get an idea.
Yeah.
All right.
And are they all displayed, or do you have some in boxes some places?
Some are boxed up. So I have some dolls that are still in storage, and storage being in my attic, and then I have some that are in drawers in my room. So I have some drawers that have, especially like my childhood Barbies, I probably have 25 or 30 of those in a drawer because I just don't have anywhere to display them. But that's the bad thing about me, is they're my childhood Barbies, so I'm sentimentally attached to them. So I do get them out from time to time and, you know, just check on their condition and maybe take some photos, but then they go back in the drawer. So
nice.
Do you spend a lot of time playing with your dolls?
I
know you buy the dolls and clothes.
I generally will redress one doll a day. So I'll find a doll and I'll redress that doll and I'll take a picture. So that's kind of my play, is that I redress and then I try to do a cute pose, and then I'll take the doll out either outside or to my light box, take a picture, and that kind of satisfies that that play that I want to do with that interaction with my dolls. So
that's cool. That's very cool. Yeah. And so your new thing is, you just recently started a Patreon, and I was so excited when you did this, because your Patreon is something that Georgette and I have been talking about, and it's good to see somebody doing it, you know. So let's talk about your Patreon.
Okay. With my Patreon, one of the main goals that I have had with my channel and with everything is one of the other goals. I talked about some of my main goals earlier, but another goal is to support the artists who make our dolls, because without them, you know, we would be a lot more limited in the types of dolls that we're able to collect. And so I wanted to start a Patreon with the hopes that, and we're almost there, that we can start providing, I don't know if I'm going to call it a scholarship or a grant yet. Last year, I did a BJD scholarship where I gave away, people had to apply, and they did a video applications, and I actually gave away 3 or 4. I gave away 4 BJDs last year. But what I want to do this year is, in addition to the BJD scholarship, which goes to a collector, I'd like to do a scholarship to an artist, or I might call it a grant. I'm still kind of toying with that. But what I want to do is make grants available to artists. So if they need, for example, a piece of software, so if they're wanting to sculpt in 3D and they need to buy that software, that might be something that our grant is able to provide. If they just need the materials to actually physically sculpt, sculpting tools, clay, whatever, we can provide that. If they need the money to have their molds made, which is very expensive, and we're not at that level yet, but eventually I hope we can get to that level where we can say, okay, well, we'll provide 50% of your mold making cost or whatever. So that's something that I've really wanted to do. And I finally have gotten to the point where I felt like I had the following that I would be able to attract more people to help me with that goal. And it's going pretty well. And as a matter of fact, I think at the end of next month, we'll actually be able to offer our first $500 grant to an artist.
Nice.
And
That's brilliant, because you just started. It hasn't been a month yet, has it?
It's been 2 months. So
it's been 2 months. Okay.
It's been 2 months.
Okay.
So, and it's just, that's, something that's just really important to me, because I've made friends with a lot of artists over the years of collecting these dolls, and I hear their concerns, and I see that new artists want to break into the field, and I want to kind of make that, more accessible for them. If you're hindered because you don't have the money for the materials, but how many great artists are out there that we don't know about because they just don't have the means to do something. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and because Georgette and I talked about that too, because we have most of the people we interview are doll creators, and so we hear these stories about unexpected expenses, or just the expenses, and just the expenses being tens of thousands of dollars. So that we've been bouncing around that same idea. So when you announced that, I was like, yes, I'm so excited.
Because
it is so needed. It is so needed.
It is really needed. I mean, when we created our doll, it was about us trying to get people to buy a doll so we could have money to produce the doll, pretty much. So I understand. I mean, I definitely understand firsthand, like, what manufacturing costs, and what all the little nuances that show up because of you going into this type of business. You may have to hire somebody who does sculpting, or graphics, or whatever it is. And so I think that's a great idea.
Or you might need money for a web page. I mean, I started my own web page last year, and it costs $400. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, if you're an artist and you're trying to break into the field and you've got to spend $400 on a web page, like, that's one of those unexpected costs that you're probably not thinking about. But it is really important to have that, because if people are looking for you, you want to have a web presence. So besides just on social media, so that's kind of another thing that, if an artist needs a website and they need to build that out, that's something that money could go towards. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because and so when we go back to the whole thing behind the Black Doll celebration, people can't find Black dolls. That's what they keep saying. I can't find Black dolls. So if you have people who are making dolls and they have no way to draw the people to them,
people can't buy what they don't know about.
Yes.
And so that was the case recently. I unboxed a doll that was very popular. People loved the unboxing, and because of that, the artist actually opened a pre-order for that doll. Now, that artist has a website and all that, but people just, I guess, didn't know about the doll or hadn't seen it out or weren't specifically looking for that, but they had a really successful pre-order from that. And that's kind of, you know, people need to be on the right platform, and they need to be able to, people need to see what you have in order for them to buy it. So
yeah, and it's a great opportunity for them too. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, well, thank you for putting that together. That's awesome. It's gonna help so many people out there.
I hope it's gonna go well. So I'm just, you know, we're gonna do our first grant sometime in the next 2 months. We're gonna be at that level. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that's great. We can share it on our platform too. So
that'd be
I mean,
awesome.
because you've been great, you know, sharing with us. We'd love to support you on that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it really is an honor to walk with you, because we are so in line with each other. You know, it's our goals are such that at the end of the day, we are trying to help increase this, you know, the community, to bring more dolls, and to do that, we have to support the artists, and we have to help people be able to find them. So we're walking that same path. So it's so cool to have a sister to walk the path with.
Well, that's why I love y'all's show so much, and I love your podcast so much, is because you're talking to the artists, and it's, you know, you learn so much about the person behind the dolls and the artistry, and I appreciate that from my perspective, because, you know, I'm a collector, but I love to hear the artist's perspective on things. So
and it's the same thing for us. I mean, for it's just like we get to go and fangirl, you know, with all of these wonderful artists. It's like, oh, guess what we're gonna get to meet? Oh,
And you got to act all professional, you know, like somewhat professional.
Oh, I've been there. I remember. I've so many doll conventions. One of my favorite artists of all time is Lola Palacios, Atelier Mamoni, and I remember I met her in France, and the first time I met her, I was just like, oh gosh. And I walked up to her and she said, Allison, because she knew who I was, like, she knows who I am. And she just gave me a big hug, and it was just so exciting. And since then, she's actually been here and stayed with me for a week. And
that's so nice.
It was just so cool. And, you know, but I totally get that, the fangirling and just trying to keep your composure. And you're like, don't ruin this. Don't ruin this. Don't ruin this. Gotta be cool. So
that's awesome. That's so true.
We were interviewing Mel Odom, and I had been talking to Mel because I went and got Mel. So when we were interviewing Mel Odom, I had probably spoken to him at least half a dozen times. When I went to introduce him, it hit me
that you were talking to Mel Odom.
And
I couldn't speak his name. I just went silent.
Yes, you went silent.
Just
I'm thinking
silent.
What happened to Tammy? Like she introduced him, and then I was like, she was gone. I was like, me and Mel on the phone, we weren't doing video then at the time. So we're on the phone, and we're like, I'm thinking to myself, did she fall off? Did she
the call dropped?
Then she just comes back. It's just like, I'm so sorry. I just realized we were talking to Mel Odom, and we just bust out laughing. You know, like Mel he thought it was hilarious, but I think that is how it is when you admire people. You know, you admire their work, and you get to meet them and speak to them, and so you know, especially for you too, because you collect dolls. I mean, you know, you're a big, you know, you and Tammy are both very big collectors. You know, so you know, when you get to see the person who created this thing that you are keeping, that you are buying, you know, that you are treasuring, I think that it takes the whole level of meeting them to another degree, I think.
Well, it's like meeting a rock star. I mean, you know, that's exactly what it is, because they're my rock stars, they're my movie stars. Those are the things that I hold important. And so, you know, when you meet them, it's like meeting your favorite celebrity. And it's just, you know, it's just such a cool experience.
Yeah,
it really is.
And so like when I talk to my husband about it, it's like, because my husband's a software engineer, so he gets, you know, the whole, it's like, I met the Steve Jobs of the doll world.
Right.
You know?
Yes, right.
I'm at the Bill Gates of the doll world.
Yeah,
You know, it's like,
relate.
oh, okay. So
Oh, that's how he relates to it.
Yeah, that's true. That is so funny.
So tell us what you have. What do you have planned for the rest of the year? I mean, I know you're doing the grants. What else do you have planned?
So I'm on the board for Modern Doll Collectors Convention. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that convention, but we have a convention every year. It's this year is in Louisville, Kentucky. It moves all over the country. This year's in Louisville, Kentucky. Next year is going to be Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. But that'll be a big part. I was there last weekend doing some planning, so that'll be in August. So we're going to get to meet, or there'll be some artists there, and we have events and things like that. So that's going to be a big thing that I'll be covering on my channel during that time.
So when is that? Do you happen, like, approximately?
It's August the 18th through the 21st.
Cool.
So
okay.
It's
the
Modern Doll Collectors Convention.
Okay.
And we get about 150 people every year, and we have a lot of different artists, generally from all over the world. Right now, a lot of our international artists are not going to be able to make it this year, of course, with the situation. It's going to be a little bit different. We had to go virtual last year. So last year we did it virtually, it was a big success. It was a lot of work. But this year we're going back to in person at the Brown Hotel in Louisville. And so that's kind of the big thing that I'm going to be working on up until then. And then my husband is Costa Rican, and we are going to Costa Rica a couple times, and I've lined up, I don't know how this is going to pan out, but there is a doll factory there that has been making dolls for quite some time, and trying to get a tour of that and be able to actually, see the manufacturing process.
So very cool.
Fingers crossed that one's going to pan out. If y'all can send me your good vibes, I'll take them for that.
We're sending them.
Thank you. And then
if you need someone to go on the tour with you, just let us know. We don't want you to be, scared.
We don't want you to be
Costa
Rica by yourself, just your husband.
Yeah, that's right.
Your husband, he might want to go do something else. So we could keep you company.
I'm
sisters, we got your back.
I'm hoping that they're going to actually let me do it. So right now we're kind of talking back and forth with the owner to say, because it's in my husband's hometown. That's where the factory is, and they've been making dolls for, I think, 50 or 60 years.
Oh, okay. They've been around for a while.
They have been. So I'm very tentatively excited about that.
Nice.
And then the BJD scholarship, I'm going to do that again. That's the annual thing that I do. I normally announce the specific qualifications in July or August, and then I announce the winners on my birthday, which is in October. So I'll be doing that this year again.
How many dolls are you giving away?
Well, the plan is to give away one, and that was the same plan last year, but the entries were so good, I ended up doing 4.
Wow.
The plan is one, and that's a $500. That's a $500 scholarship for the doll of your choice. And the way that works is that the people who enter, they will do a video entry. They have to do a video, because the way I tell them is, I'm putting myself out here on video every day. I need to be able to connect with you somehow. So they do a video entry, they answer some questions, and then I kind of go through the entries, and I determine, I also look at their social media profiles, because I want to be sure they're really collectors and it's not, obviously somebody that's just, and I want to give it to somebody deserving that really, deserves to have, everybody deserves to have a doll, but you know what I'm saying? Somebody that's active within the community and it's going to really cherish a doll. So I'll be doing that. Like I said, I'll be announcing that probably towards the end of July, and I announce it early so people have a chance to think about their entries and think about what they're going to do, because I do require the video entry for that. And of course, we'll be doing the artist grant at some point. I don't think I'm going to require a video entry for that, but I haven't quite worked out the kinks in that yet. So but that's pretty much, those are my plans for right now. So
okay, that's good. You got some great plans.
You do.
knock on wood, that they all go, that the plans go according to plan. So.
Yeah, exactly. This with COVID, things have been so, I mean, just
you got to take it day by day with that. So,
really, truly,
yeah, you really do.
Yes.
So the convention that you're having, you said that's going to be actually in a space. It's not going to be virtual.
It is going to be in a space. We are going to require masking, and we're going to have some social distancing efforts. But it is in the Brown Hotel in Louisville. We went this past weekend. They've got enhanced measures as well, and vaccines have become pretty much available to most people. I know, well, at least in my state, they're available to everybody now. Anybody can get them. I got my second dose a few weeks ago. So, we're confident that with the rollout of the vaccinations and with masking and with social distancing, that we can have a safe convention in person. And the people want a convention because it's been so long.
Yes.
We didn't get to have it last year, and some of our attendees, that is they've told us, this is my number one vacation for the year. This is where I come and I see all my friends. And it's a really wonderful time, and that you make so many friends there. So we're really excited about that.
That's cool.
How long you been a part of that?
I have been attending since 2016 or 17. And in 2019, they asked me to become a chair member. And then last year, they asked me to become a board member.
Okay, nice.
So, yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Are they always here in the U.S. or do they?
It's always in the U.S. Okay. So the first year I went, we were in Boston. The second year I went, we were in New Orleans, San Antonio. Then we went virtual. Then it's going to be Louisville, Kentucky. Next year will be Oklahoma City, and we're working on the other city. We're always thinking a couple years in advance. So
okay,
that's great.
That's very
good.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Doing some amazing things.
Give us another doll convention. Some other place.
Yeah, that would be nice to attend.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Me and Tammy don't get to see each other physically. So
yeah.
Well, I will be glad to provide any of the information for you guys. For anybody who's interested in attending. So it's really a lot of fun.
I'm looking at Allison and her babies back there, and it's like all her babies keep saying to me, Auntie, can I come to your house?
You come visit. Look, they'll take in-person visits. If you guys are ever in the Charlotte area, you can come in person and have a visit. And I always do bring a couple of them with me to conventions and stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
So,
Joseph.
That's nice.
Yeah, Joseph. Yeah. When you said that, it made me think about something. I'm sorry, I cut you short. You made me think about somebody.
You're fine.
Yeah, Joseph Zechariah always travels with a doll.
Oh, I always do too. Absolutely.
Okay.
Really?
Always travel with a doll either in my pocketbook. I have a little one that stays in my pocketbook, but if I'm going for something else, I will take a doll with me. Like, over the weekend to Louisville, I took 4 dolls. So
why do you have a doll with you always?
I just feel like, this is going to sound silly, but this is, I've said this before.
It's not going to be silly.
If I get in a car accident and my car is stuck in the bottom of a ravine for 5 days and nobody finds me for 5 days, I want to have a doll to play with while I'm sitting there in my car waiting to be rescued. What else am I gonna do? But not only that, but you never
sit there and twiddle your thumbs.
I mean,
because I think you're right, because eventually, if you have a phone, it's gonna die out. Right. So you're gonna not be able to talk to anybody.
You're gonna drink all your water and eat all your snacks on the first day, because rationing. What is that?
I know that's right. I don't do that well either, Allison.
I'd be assuming somebody's coming for me soon, but you hear these stories about people that go off they're trying to miss a deer and they go off the side of the road. They always tell me you should just hit the deer, Allison, but I can't help it. It's just, But anyway, I've never been in a wreck, knock on wood again. So anyway.
Good, knock on wood.
But but that, not only that, but you never know when a fun opportunity to take a photo is going to come up.
Mhm,
And it kind of helps break the ice, you know. I especially like to take my smart dolls places, and they're huge, and that's one you wouldn't
they
typically
are.
think of that you like to travel, but I like to take them places. Me, for example, I go, I have MS, and I go to the hospital 3 times a year for a day-long treatment, and that's like a really boring, it's very boring. You're just sitting there, you can't do anything. I always take a smart doll with me, and the nurses and the other people that are there, you know, it's just a fun like icebreaker, and people talk about it, and they're, you know, happy looking dolls, and you can do fun things with them and do fun poses. And that's another thing, you know, when you take a doll with you, you can learn more. You might learn like how to pose your doll in a way that you've never really explored before, because that's something I'm still learning about. I have a friend, her name is Shira. She is great at doll posing. I'm still a little awkward with it, but when you have a doll and you're sitting there, you kind of play with it and pose it around, and you know, you can learn about the doll that way, I feel like. So
That's cool.
So the doll that you carry in your purse, you said it's a little one. How big is it?
she's about 4 inches tall, maybe.
Oh, okay. So she's little, but she's articulated.
She is. She's a June
Okay.
Planning AI doll, and
Okay.
they're not technically ball jointed dolls. They sold them they had them at Tuesday morning. They used to have them there all the time,
Oh,
and
wow.
so I picked them up there because they were very inexpensive and very articulated, and they're not resin. They're made of I think it's ABS plastic, and so they're not as delicate, and so she just stays in my purse. Her name is Ropdy, which stands for regular old purse doll. That's what my friend named her.
Ropdy.
She says that's just your regular old purse doll. That's nothing fancy. It's like, so they call her Ropdy. But anyway.
Do you keep her in something special?
Awesome.
No, I just keep her in the purse. So she's just in there.
Just hanging out with all the coins, all the
That's
lost
right.
coins, and
the coins, the
piece of
chapstick,
candy.
the candy. Luckily,
funny.
that doll is very resilient. I can clean her up, and she cleans up really easily. So her wig's a little bit of a mess now, I won't lie, but you know, otherwise she's been with me for a long time. So.
Wow. That's so cool,
I
though.
have one of those little dolls.
Never thought about that.
I never
thought about that.
Yeah, I never thought about carrying one until Joseph said that. And it's like,
Well, it's just
fun.
fun. I mean,
in my purse.
It's just fun, you know. You never know when a cool photo opportunity is going to come up, you know, and that's something that I post a lot of stuff on Instagram, and so you know, it's doll related, and if you have your doll there and you see a cool piece of artwork or something like that, you know, you just take a quick picture, and there you go.
I guess that makes sense. Kind of like podcasters, right? They travel with their mics, you know.
There you go.
They have
Exactly.
a mic and an iPhone. You know, that's what you do. So you know,
right. You never know when opportunity is going to present itself.
That's
so
true.
You want to be ready.
That's true. That's true.
That's true. That's pretty cool, though. That's pretty cool to know.
Yeah.
There is one more thing I wanted to ask, only because it resonates with me. But I wanted to ask you, how did you come up with the name for your channel? Because so I have a connection with the word muñeca, because when I used to date back in the day, so my oldest son, his father's Puerto Rican, so he has since passed, and so he used to call me muñeca all the time. And so when I saw that name, I was like, oh, that's so cute. So then I wondered, how did you come up with that the name for that?
When I came up with the name, it was actually, I did a blog for a while before I ever had a YouTube channel. I started a blog back in 2007 or 8, and at that time, I primarily collected international playline dolls. I didn't have the means to collect ball jointed dolls or anything like that. You know, I was a teacher. So I primarily collected Nancy Famosa, which are Spanish dolls, Juanita Perez, which are Mexican dolls. So that's the Muñecas. Poupees are the French dolls, and I had a couple of dolls called Cathy de Bella. I still have them. I'm pointing to them like you guys can see them over there. The Cathy de Bellas from France, and I have some Claudry Crissys, Claudry the French manufacturer, So the Poupees and then Dolls. So it's Dolls, Dolls, Dolls. And I was reading a lot at the time. Like I was telling you guys, there wasn't information out there. I was reading a lot of blogs that were in Spanish and French because I was trying to learn about all these dolls and there was no information in English. And so I just thought it would be cool to let people know, you know, I this is my name because I like dolls from all different countries, and you know, that's kind of my focus. So that's where that came from.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I was just curious how the name came about, and then when I see it, like I said, I always think about David.
Think of him.
Yeah, I always do think of him because nobody, you know, nobody's ever called me that before, and back in the day, I didn't really know. I had found out what it was, but you know, nobody used it. I wasn't, you know, around people that said that all the time. So, so I thought it was really cool, very cute. Yeah. But I think that is good that, like you said, the way that you named it kind of alerted the people that you understood, you know, the dolls from their country, you know, or that you were presenting dolls from their country because of the title. And I think that gave you a really good all around basis, you know, for inviting more people in to what it is that you do. So yeah.
It's funny because when I started my channel, I almost changed the name because I thought, you know, I don't know, because people didn't know what it meant all the time. And a friend of mine, she told me, do not change the name. She said, that is you. When I see that, I know it's you. And I know that we're going to talk about dolls from all different places. And I said, okay. And so that's some of the best advice I ever got was she actually stopped me from changing my name. Yeah. So I wish I could have fit a lot more because I would have done, you know, Boneca, which is Portuguese, and I think what's the Italian? I can't remember, Bamboletta or something like that. Would have done all the languages, but you know, you have to be a little bit brief with those things. So
yes, you do. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, ladies. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure for us too.
Yeah.
It's and like I said, it's always nice to watch your videos because I learn about so many dolls and see your taste is so eclectic. So Allison, I just wanted to say thank you so very much for just sharing such a vast variety of dolls. You know, we see the dolls that are human, that are different color, different sizes, different shapes. You have different countries, an amazing eclectic collection. So I'm so excited. Whenever I see your show, it's like I know I'm going to see something different. You know, it's going to be something cool that comes out of this. I'm going to meet a new doll artist or a new doll clothing maker, or I always learn something. So I love your shows, and like I said before, I think that what you're doing is such a blessing to the doll world because we can go there and look, and I go there and look and it's like, oh, this is probably somebody who I'd like to interview, or it's like, oh, that's a doll that I didn't know existed, or maybe I want to buy that one. So there's just so much that happens in your page. I feel like you're like, if we have this epicenter of the doll world, you're part of that, you know, because you bring so much.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. That's very high praise. Thank you very much. I mean, that's all, you know, that's part of my thing is to let people know what's out there and see all the beautiful different artwork. And I think dolls of any form are artwork, you know, and you don't have to be, like I tell people, because, you know, people see that I have a lot of dolls, and you can be a valid doll collector with one doll. That's, you know, everybody's has a different threshold and a different, you know, and a different style. Like you said, people that collect mannequins. And so I would consider those, you know, they might say they're mannequin collectors, but to me, that's a doll collector, you know, because it's that same sort of thing. Because I bet they change their clothes and do things like that. And so same kind of enjoyment that I get out of it.
Great.
So,
yeah. Like Tammy said, you know, you just provide so much education, you know, and opportunity for people to see the vastness of the doll community. And so we really appreciate that work, and we really appreciate all the work that you put in to do that, because it's not, you know, I mean, we know you love it, but it's still work as well.
It is.
And
Yeah.
you know, yeah, you know, to educate people takes education of yourself. You know, you have to educate
Yes.
yourself first in order to pass it on. So so we appreciate all that work that you do, and we do love
really
your
do.
shows. So
Well,
thank you again.
Thank you very much for asking me on. I really feel honored to do it, and I agree. The same thing that you said. I love y'all show so much because I learned so much about different artists, and from that perspective that I don't always get, as coming from my side being the collector. I love hearing from the artist side of things. So thank y'all for the work that you do and reaching out to these artists and getting these awesome interviews and asking the questions that we want to know the answers to. So
we hope we're asking those questions.
you are. Every time I really enjoy it. So
good. We'll see, now somebody's going to be able to enjoy your amazing interview. So
exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you again, Allison, for being with us in the doll world. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Talk to you later, ladies.
Talk to you later.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.